The floodgates are wide open now, as more and more people are launching scathing attacks on the disgraced former This Morning host, Phillip Schofield, after he admitted that he lied about an affair with a young man, whom he met when the boy was 15. One person in particular, Eamonn Holmes, has unleashed a tirade of savage accusations about Pip, as he once called him, but now, it seems as if that moniker has morphed into chief narcissist. GB News presenter, Eamonn said that Thursday was playtime, when the young man and Phillip would hit the town, and then he obviously stayed overnight. There are records to show that he was brought in the next day separately in cars paid for by ITV. Calling Schofield's former lover lovely, and a really good talented fella, he went on to say the taxi to work on a Friday morning was part of a cover-up by ITV bosses, and added, unless Phillip paid the bills separately, but it would still have to go through the accounts office. They would have seen that and known. Holmes has also claimed Schofield would take his former lover back to his £1 million flat in an exclusive block within the studios at White City, in West London. The pair would enter through an adjacent hotel to avoid any suspicions of their secret trysts, it is reported. Eamonn went on, they had to know what was going on and they thought they would dodge the bullet, which they did, and they do constantly. All I'm here to do is to speak for people who hadn't got a voice. I'm speaking on behalf of them, he added. In the interview with GB News presenter, Dan Woodburn, he continued his blistering attack on the former This Morning host, his either deluded, or his lying. And he has admitted he tells lies, and he tells a lot of lies. In life, I have always had this belief that a lie unchallenged becomes the truth. So although I don't want to stand up to Schofield constantly pointing out where he's lying, I feel I have to. Is he delusional? Is he so detached from real life at This Morning that he didn't realize what was going on? I'll often say this to Ruth, maybe he believes all this stuff. Maybe he did not see what went on, actually, because there's something wrong with him. But he is the chief narcissist. He is a complete and utter dyed-in-the-wall narcissist, everything is about him. Ahead of the interview, Holmes and Woodburn, who also used to work for ITV, pledged to tell the real story behind Schofield's affair. Holmes tweeted, "A lie unchallenged becomes the truth. Not on my watch, it doesn't, Pip. Tonight is for all my workmates over the years who were frightened and ignored by you and your controlling, coercive behavior. All you who no one listened to. I'm here for you." He also added that he was just telling the truth in the face of a coercive controller. It is unclear who exactly he was referring to as a coercive controller. Eamonn and Schofield were never close in the past but appreciated each other's broadcasting styles and worked professionally alongside each other. Last night, sources close to Schofield said of the interview, "Phillip is not in a great place right now." If Eamonn Holmes wants to be that cruel to someone in Phillip's position, then that I think says more about Eamonn than Phillip. Eamonn has also claimed that Phillip Schofield created an atmosphere where people hated him and that people would avoid him in the corridor. He didn't look at anybody. He didn't know anybody's names. Phillip is renowned for snubbing people. He's very passive-aggressive. Holly doesn't know people's names either. This is legendary within the production team, how distant they are, and how they just don't care. The 63-year-old previously tweeted, "Schofield has just put out a delusional statement. Like Holly, he puts it on Insta stories, so if it goes wrong there is no record after 24 hours. I'm reluctant to give the liar any more publicity, but believe me, Pip, if you are looking for a fight, you have picked on the wrong person." Phillip was so rude, Eamonn retorted, "This nonsense that he wrote about toxicity, it's a happy place and whatever. What planet does this man live on? He created an atmosphere where people hated him. Not only should Phillip go, but Holly Willoughby should follow him out the door. I don't think you'll ever see Holly back on the couch again." Eamonn has also confirmed that his wife Ruth Langsford was so incensed with Phillip Schofield's behavior towards her, that she did indeed make an official complaint about him to ITV. Back in 2019, it was reported that Ruth had been left furious when Phillip interrupted her while she was doing a live link on This Morning to preview what was coming up on Loose Women that day. Footage of the incident has resurfaced, and in it, Ruth can be seen slamming her pen down in frustration as Phillip interrupts and cuts her off mid-sentence. It was rumored that the exchange and the fact that Ruth made a complaint over that started a behind-the-scenes feud between the pair, although she was on and to support Phillip just a few months later when he very publicly came out as gay on This Morning. Eamonn Holmes has also claimed that Holly Willoughby is using Alison Hammond, as he insisted their unexpected friendship would never have happened 2 years ago. He slammed the impression that the pair are suddenly close pals, insisting that for over a decade, there was never any contact between them. Eamonn insisted that the idea that Holly is friends with Alison is nonsense, claiming that the presenter liked mixing in circles, which she thought would open doors for her. He added, "And they are always seen, I mean, this nonsense that goes on that Holly Willoughby now has Alison Hammond as her best friend, and it's Alison Hammond's birthday party and Alison Hammond goes to Holly Willoughby's select night out with her friends. And I'm sure there was very little contact between her and the presenters. But then it all changed. They use people, just use other people. It's disgusting. And it's tolerated." Alison and Holly co-hosted This Morning together for the first time last month and were lauded by viewers for their chemistry. But today new photos have emerged of Phillip Schofield's young lover giving Holly Willoughby a kiss on the cheek after an award ceremony, as ITV faced more claims of covering up their affair. A series of pictures show Holly and her producer husband Daniel Baldwin leaving the National Television Awards at the 02 Arena in 2020, where This Morning won the Live Magazine Show category. They are approached by the young man, who shares a few words with Holly, 42, and kisses her on the cheek before they get into waiting cabs. Phil, 61, does not take part in the conversation but is seen vaping nearby accompanied by his wife, Stephanie Lowe. This Morning's former resident Dr. Ranj Singh, who had called out the program for having a toxic culture, has also appeared in the news again today. The doctor had previously stated that he had raised concerns about bullying and discrimination 2 years ago while he was still working on the program, but felt like he was managed out for whistleblowing. Today, however, Dr. Ranj Singh has had to speak out again after a photo featuring himself alongside disgraced former This Morning host Phillip Schofield's young lover resurfaced. Singh worked on the show as a resident medical expert alongside Schofield and his co-host Holly Willoughby for 6 years before stepping down in 2022. He has since moved to defend himself after a 6-year-old selfie taken by Singh with the young runner at the heart of Schofield's departure emerged online. Taking to Twitter, he wrote, "It's sad that there are people out there trying to cause damage and insinuate things from a harmless picture. So here are some facts. Phil's ex and I worked together at This Morning. He was 21 when we took this picture at the studio. And it was obviously taken as a joke." Phillip Schofield's ex-lover, the fragile boy at the center of This Morning scandal, is said to have gone to ground after the affair, and Eamonn Homes says that he had no one to look after him and would seek comfort in late-night calls with him and wife Ruth. The young man was left in a bad way afterward and felt abandoned by him and ITV bosses who were obsessed with keeping the star and his co-host Holly Willoughby happy, Eamonn Holmes has claimed. The ex-This Morning host said that the TV producer, who has not been named, was eventually shipped out to Loose Women after getting a promotion he didn't ask for. Speaking to GB News' Dan Woodburn, Mr. Holmes said that the young man was fragile, alone, and short of cash after the affair ended, with Eamonn and his wife Ruth giving him extra work to increase his income. Mr. Woodburn said that the situation was made worse because Schofield's lover was forced to reveal he was gay, which his loved ones had not known. Eamonn also said ITV had failed to have any duty of care for him because everything at ITV was geared towards making Phillip and Holly happy. So no one else counted. Calling the younger man lovely and a really good talented fella, he said, "Ruth and I particularly looked after him. He never once talked to us about any relationship, but we knew he was in a bad way and he was in a bad way. He seemed to go through a lot of money in his life. And he would use them for other jobs and help them, and he was always very, very reliable. But he needed a lot of money in his life, for whatever reason." He said that rumors began about their affair, but the young man never told Eamonn and Ruth the truth, and then he was suddenly moved to Loose Women. There was talk of Phillip having a relationship with a young man. That young man was promoted. He didn't seek promotion, didn't ask for promotion. I haven't ever heard, and I'd like ITV to produce the records for people who were promoted from This Morning to another program, because it would have been a very rare occurrence if it happened. So he was promoted against his will onto another program, Loose Women. The only thing I ever knew was that, oh, they are very close, oh, Phillip's boyfriend, whatever. The lad would never admit anything like that to us. We never overtly asked him. But what I do know is he would particularly seek comfort, you know, he would phone often. I remember on my 60th birthday, and I was in Belfast. And he phoned Ruth and Ruth handed the phone to me. And he was very close to Ruth. And we never intruded into what was wrong, we just asked him if he was okay, if he needed help, if he needed support, and we were there if he wanted that. Rumors of the affair then reached the public domain. Eamonn said, he just felt very alone and that no one was looking after him, really. But what he really was saying was that there was press attention and pressure on him. During Eamonn's interview, Dan Wootton said, one of the problems that I think a lot of people don't know is that this colleague at that point was a straight man as well, which was a complicated factor in terms of he hadn't opened up to people in his own life about his sexuality, which made it particularly difficult for him. Eamonn replied, well, again, it's so confusing. I don't know if he was straight or if he was gay. What was going on? No one knew if Phillip was straight or gay. We just knew that he was married. Mr. Holmes said his wife is still in touch with him. I'm not, Ruth is. I think life's tough for him. I ask why Schofield put that statement out. I'd say that suddenly you ask a question of that young colleague and you're faced with top London lawyers, he said. He added, there's an incredible duty of care that needs to go towards that young man. This hashtag Be Kind, the company, ITV, don't seem to care when people harm themselves or unalive themselves through their programs, so why would they care about people who aren't known behind the scenes? Eamonn Holmes has predicted that there could be more scandals to come about deluded Phillip Schofield. Speaking to Dan Wootton on GB News, he was asked if this was the end of the scandals for Phil. He said, I sit and I wonder why did Phillip Schofield give a statement to the Daily Mail that he lied. He lied to his agency, he lied to ITV, he lied to his colleagues, he lied. Why suddenly changed his tune? And if you lied once, you lie again. You know, my father always said you can watch a thief but you can't watch a liar. And you don't know what's fact and what's fiction with him. An awkward TV moment has resurfaced in the news today, in which Phillip Schofield gulped and clenched his jaw just 3 days before he quit over the affair with the young man. During a chat with Sir Anne Jones on This Morning, Phillip appeared visibly uncomfortable as she discussed getting away with a double life and lying. The disgraced presenter spoke to the gentleman Jack Starr, 44, on the 17th of May, before he stepped down. Speaking about her new show Maryland in the resurfaced video, Sir Anne said, the logistics of a double life fascinate me and how someone gets away with having two separate lives and basically lying on such a huge scale. As she spoke about the show, which follows two sisters discovering their murdered mother's double life, Phillip appeared extremely strained as his eyes widened slightly while he appeared to gulp and clench his jaw with his hands clenched at his knees. Sir Anne's comments seemed to cause a visceral reaction in the Star shortly before the true story behind his affair came to light, and a number of other resurfaced videos showed Phillip with his younger lover on screen. Former I'm a Celebrity. Get me out of here. Star Kim Woodburn has weighed in on the scandal, calling for ITV bosses to get shot of that little bee, and calling for wimpy Holly Willoughby to be sacked from This Morning in yet another scathing attack. Kim appeared on GB News on Monday and was asked for her thoughts on the scandal engulfing This Morning. As Dan Wootton noted that Holly has asked to relaunch the show next Monday on her own, Woodburn replied, I bet she does, that little bee. I bet she does. She added, in all the years she's been on that show she has never taken part, all we hear is, oh Phillip, ha ha ha. She aided and abetted him to take a big salary, get shot of that little bee. Wimpy little woman, she will not be missed. Woodburn, who has launched several attacks on Schofield and Willoughby in recent days, went on to give her opinion on whether This Morning should be axed. She mused, I have very mixed emotions about that. A nice morning show with families and mums sitting there is a nice thing. This show is so tainted and gross. I don't want to see it go off, but I think it should. I think it should come back in a different format with different people. It's been so ruined by Schofield, but let's not give up and let's start again. It should be taken off, and reviewed, and a decent show put back on. Eamonn Homes has claimed that Holly Willoughby would now be battling to protect her brand, saying, there are people who are financial experts who will say this is about brand protection for her company and her advertising deals. Willoughby is reportedly determined to fight on to keep her spot on the sofa, despite the chaos at the programme. She is paid £730,000 a year for the presenting gig but has a growing business empire, estimated to be worth £10 million. She has amassed a huge fortune not only through her television portfolio, presenting the likes of I'm a Celeb and Dancing on Ice, but also through a series of lucrative brand deals from Marks & Spencer to Diet Coke. And in 2021, she launched her own wellness and lifestyle brand Wild Moon, akin to Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop. When Schofield announced he was leaving this morning, Willoughby wrote on Instagram that the couch will seem so empty without him. But Holmes claimed this statement was hypocritical, saying she should be dancing on the couch, because that's what she was looking for, forever. Please like and subscribe for more journeys through the Blinkerhole. For entertainment purposes only.